Hey, what's going on, everyone? Sly here with Flo. And Flo, we were listening to Steve Young talk about whether the Niners should be resting their guys this coming week because it's a game that pretty much it doesn't matter at all. So we found out that Brock Purdy will be resting, and we heard Steve Young go on KNBR and talk about that whole situation. Let's hear this real quick, this little clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Well, from a I can speak from the quarterback spot. I don't like sitting out. It's not taking a week off. It's just I'd rather warm up, play a quarter, even a half, and be done. Like that's the way to kind of stay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like there's any, now you're going to get the next week off, so you're not going to play for 3 weeks. 21 days. That's just from a quarterback spot. That's a hard restart. It takes a minute. I always said it takes every game you miss, it takes a half to kind of get fully back up to speed. And so, for me, I would want to go and, kind of dress up, ready to go through the routine, be under fire, don't want to embarrass yourself, go out there, all that pressure that you get used to. You think football, the biggest mistake that people can make in football, and that's why you learn as a little kid, is to go out there and just, throw your jock on the floor. Like, you get yourself punched in the face. Like, you have to be ready to play emotionally to play football. And so as you get to the pro game, I know no one's just just chilling. So yeah. I think, people you got to go through the routine. You got to get ready and you got to go play good football. And I think that you should look forward to it. I think that, you stay the core, you stay in the moment. This is a series of games that have set up for this to get to the spot. And in some ways the time off is great. The time off is not great. And I think anyone who thinks it's all great, it's not all great. It's great, but it's not all great. And so you got to watch out for the parts that I just described, because you do not want to get into a divisional game against a team that has potential to throw some darts around, the Eagles or the Cowboys, and then start slow. And then we got beat in '87 by the we talked about last time, by the Anthony Carter Vikings. They just came out and just big plays, big game, and before you know it, it's over. You're like, well, wait a second. No, we're the number one seed, bro. What are you doing? You're supposed to just lay down. And it just doesn't happen that way. So there is fear. There should be a little fear in taking a couple weeks off.
All right, man. So he has a difference of opinion than Kyle Shanahan. He thinks that he should be out there at least 1-2 drives. How do you feel about this, man?
I think they both could be right, because, look, imagine if Kyle Shanahan sends them out there and they get hurt in a meaningless game. He's going to get ripped, man. He's going to get absolutely destroyed. So I know why Kyle Shanahan's doing it, because this game doesn't matter. But for the same time, Steve Young, we've seen it how many times where people always rest that last game of the season and they go into that divisional matchup and they lay a goose egg because they've been sitting out too long. But that's just going to come down to more of the practices, how hard they're going. As long as they don't get too stagnant and just become like complacent, that's pretty much the big thing. As long as practices are still competitive, they're going hard, not to the point where they're full contact, but where they're actually really like breaking full strides of that, things of that nature. I think the rest is the way to go, but we've seen it before where sometimes it just doesn't work in your favor, and then you end up getting that divisional matchup game that ends up being a lot tougher where you end up going down. But what do you think, man? Who are you siding with?
You know what? I'm probably going to side with Kyle, but I get what you're talking about. It's just that our guys have been banged up so much, and it's not just this year, it's years past, man. It seems like every year something happens with injury. This year we've been kind of fortunate, I guess, but we still have had some bad luck. So, if we're a team that's known to be injured, and we have Brock Purdy, who, let's be real, 2 out of the last 3 weeks he's had stingers. So, it kind of does make sense for him to rest. And going on what Steve Young said, I get kind of what he's saying. However, how many times in the 90s where we were the number one seed with Steve Young and those guys, and then like no matter what it was, whether it would rest or not rest, the Packers would always beat us in the NFC Championship game. And man, they broke my heart so many times, even against the Cowboys too. But it was a lot of times those Packers that would eliminate us later in the 90s. And it didn't matter what we did, whether you rest the guys last week, not rest them. It was just, they just had our number. And so To me, I'm just resting the dudes. Obviously, you can't rest everybody because only 47 dress and you only have 53 guys on the roster. So Kyle Shanahan said it best today. You can't just go on cutting people, So there are going to be quite a few guys that are going to have to play starters, and that's fine with me. To me, personally, guys that kind of haven't lived up to the bill this year, kind of like Kinlaw, Farrell, guys on offense, the offensive line, like let them play, man. Let them play and try to get better, try to work on their craft because, it's been a kind of a rough season for those guys. Even though other people say, they've had good years, I don't see it. So let those guys play all game long and let Brock Purdy rest, man. Like he's the guy that came in off the injury on the offseason. So, I mean, there's so many factors to look into, and at the end of the day, man, it's about trying to win, and I don't think it's going to matter in the playoffs. It's going to be like, do you have it or do you not have it? That's what's going to come down. Do you have it that day in the divisional round, or, are you going to be one and done? We know that looking back at the Ravens a few years ago, remember when they were the number 1 seed, they rested their guys week 18, then everyone was saying, oh, that's why they lost to the Titans. They were the number 1 seed. Lamar had the MVP. But me, I just felt that the Titans just had their number that year. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think pretty much his biggest thing of this week is just going to be who's going to be our number 2 running back. Pretty much to see who's going to take over, because obviously McCaffrey, let him rest, and then just see between Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell, see which of those 2 guys is going to look the part, And
Elijah Mitchell might not play because we're hearing he's sick. So it's one thing with another with Elijah. So to me personally, I wouldn't even play Elijah because he'll probably get hurt the last week of the season. Man, poor guy. He wakes up out of bed getting hurt. So I definitely would not play him. But it's an interesting situation right now. It's a situation that the Niners are glad they're in because, they don't want to be playing all their starters. And Christian McCaffrey straight up said that if we had to win this game, this week come against the Rams, he would feel like he would have to play, and he would play. So I mean, you don't want that, man. You don't want guys that are injured out there playing. Like the guys that have been hurt, you want them resting. Like Hargrave, you don't want him playing because he's coming off the hamstring injury. So guys that have been injured, even Dre Greenlaw, man, I do not want him playing at all because you could tell he hasn't been the same the last few weeks. He's been limping out there, busted up. So let these guys rest. It seems like when we come off a rest, we're a team that when we come off the rest, we play better. Week 1, guys were on fire against Steelers, and for like 5 weeks they were on fire. Then we had a slump. We had the bye week. And what happened? On fire again. We caught on fire again. And then when we had the 10-day rest, I believe we played on Thursday football on Thanksgiving. The following week, I forgot who it was, but we just came out like gunslingers with that extra rest. And remember, we're an older team. I think right now we're the 4th oldest team in the league. So that rest, an older team, a veteran team with 9 Pro Bowlers, you got to rest up. You got to have them just relax, man, not go crazy. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan said something important in practice. What did he say? We're gonna rest our guys, but these practices are still gonna be intense, and we're still gonna get at it. So I love that right there. The fact that they still are gonna be practicing, they're just not gonna have the wear and tear, the boom, the thumping on Sunday. So that's, to me, that's smart. And he's probably looking at what his dad did back in the day. Shanahan, the way he did it when he won those 2 Super Bowls, man. He probably has the exact same blueprint going on, and I think it's smart, man. To me, it's a no-brainer, man.
Yeah, man, and it's kind of good, especially for our secondary guys, the guys who normally don't get as much reps. I think that's also going to help, too, because we're playing the Rams team that are still kind of fighting for something, and they have good receivers, so this is going to give our secondary some much-needed reps. See guys like, who do you think's going to be out there?
Darrell Luter Jr., Graham
Womack,
Beal, even Verrett. Even though he's an older guy, though he's an older guy,
to get him some reps.
Guys like Verrett, I think right now, and then because Amber Thomas is hurt too, so I'll say it right now. Do you remember when Doug Flutie, last week of the season, he was the quarterback, and the last week they had that Johnson guy come in, he threw 5 touchdowns, and then what happened? They were like, you know what? Flutie's been our quarterback all year long. However, Doug Johnson, after what he did that last week, he's going to be our starter. If someone comes out there, because remember, Puka Nacua, we're hearing that he's going to play. If one of these guys, I would lock down Jason Verrett or Darrell Luter Jr., see what they do on Puka. Puka's one of the best receivers in the game. If they're able to lock his ass down, I would not be surprised if one of those guys are actually starting in the divisional round. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's a lot of different storylines going on this last week, and I'm pumped for it. I'm definitely going to be watching. I know a lot of guys, Niner fans, are like, don't worry, this means nothing. To these coaching staff, to this team, it means a lot, man, because there's some guys that could take starting roles for that divisional round.
All right. Well, you guys let us know in the comments what you guys think. Rest or start? Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. See y'all next time.
Peace.